Hello everybody, welcome to my kitchen and welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Freaks podcast. Following a year that literally no one could have predicted, we're going to sit down and try and predict what's going to happen this year. So we'll see how that pans out. Obviously we're talking about the worlds of PPC and Paid Social here. Who really knows what's going to happen? But hopefully some useful insight into what we see happening and developing on the platforms over the next 6 to 12 months. So really hope you find this useful and insightful. If you do, please come and give us a subscribe. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the usual places. Just drop our name in and hopefully you'll find us. Would love to see you there and enjoy this episode. All right, so Jade, Ferne, how are you? It's Blue Monday, so hopefully you're not feeling too blue.
No, I don't believe in Blue Monday. I just believe in Blue January.
So it's a whole month
Just get
of
the
blueness.
January over and done with, and then we can just crack on.
Yeah,
Especially this year.
yeah, exactly. So we've got Jade from the PPC side, Ferne's joining us from the Paid Social side. We're going to try and predict what we think is going to happen this year, although sat here this time last year, there's no way we could have predicted 2020. So we'll see how this one pans out.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about, I guess, like platform trends, general industry trends, what we think the year is going to have in store, all of those types of things. So I guess first off, who wants to kick off?
Oh, that's a question. We should have
Very
figured
good question. We should have flipped a coin for that one, I think.
Well, seeing if it's Ferne's first, I feel like just so she gets eases in, I can start. I'm happy to do that. And then
Thank you.
after she's listened to me rambling, I'm sure she'll feel a bit more at ease.
I think so.
So I guess one of the first things that I guess I'm predicting as someone who's worked in marketing for a few years, as well as, you know, taking just what people are saying online and any sort of predictions from other people and sort of accumulating it together. One of the main things is going to, especially on the PPC side, is going to be automation and sort of getting used to being a bit less hands-on and just letting the platforms use their AI to their best abilities. I think especially Google is trying to get everyone to do that because obviously it makes sense and they've put a lot of their heart and soul into it and they want everyone to get the best results. Maybe, you know, people think that they want to spend more money, which could also be true, but it's sort of, they've worked hard to get the platforms to work in that way. So why don't we just sort of roll with it instead of push back on it? And just we're seeing a lot more results as well when using those automated options instead of, you know, sort of being that I know best because I'm a human and I know what I can and I'm going to use everything manually and I'm going to try it because it's the way that it's been this whole time. And I think it's sort of just adapting a bit more to that. So I definitely can see that being pushed a bit more next year. And I think also just easier. Like I think maybe it's like a human thing where we don't like things being taken away and like you sort of have that section of I want control, and it's like giving up control and just letting something do it. It's quite hard for people to do, but I think just do it and like just let someone else take control a bit more, and then it just gives you more time to, you know, analyze the data that's coming through and see what we can do there instead of just trying to manually do everything all day every day. So
I guess it's determined. It's always going to be determined by the results though, isn't it? You know, like if you can get better results through a degree of automation, brilliant. If you can get better results by keeping control of certain things, brilliant. Do you think? Or do you think it's getting better?
Yeah, no, I do think it's getting better. Definitely it's going to be that. Let's see which one's better and not just rely on it too much. But I think then that's just sort of putting a bit more trust in it. Maybe this year, and just trying to see what comes of it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about you, Ferne?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing really on the social side with the iOS updates rolling out.
Oh yeah.
And
It's a
it
biggie.
just means that, especially with Facebook, they're having to do a lot of preparation very quickly. And it is a case of relying on the Facebook algorithm to make the best decisions for a business through paid social. And I just think through that, it's going to be a continuous balancing act on how reliant we should be on Facebook as a whole.
Yeah. I think balancing act is a really good way of summarizing it, because certain things you just don't want to automate, I still think.
Yeah. So, for example, the ABO versus CBO, if you're a new account and you want to have that control over where the budget is being spent, you're not going to want to go straight into a campaign-based optimization. However, I predict that that's going to completely roll out as an obligatory thing, and you won't be able to do audience-based anymore. So it's a case of figuring out how we manage that the most effectively, because we do have the best of both worlds at the moment, but I think that will start getting restricted.
But do you think that will happen because it was going to be mandatory?
Yeah.
And then they stopped it being mandatory.
So I think because of these updates and Facebook having to make so many decisions on the back end, that I think the choices as an ads manager user is going to start dwindling.
I see what you mean.
Because there's only so much we can do about these changes.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
iOS 14 and all the tracking.
That's for another podcast.
I mean, it is Blue Monday.
Yeah, let's just get into the really depressing stuff today, shall we?
But I see what you mean. I do see what you mean. But there's always still going to be, like, as long as people are using the platform, on the positive side, like, as long as people are using the platform, interacting and engaging on the platform, there will always be a way of reaching them. It's just the environment within how we're doing that is probably going to change pretty heavily this year, isn't it?
I think that's the thing. Like, I think we as people and as marketers have to adapt a bit more this year, and I think that's one of the main things that we've been quite lucky that maybe we haven't had huge changes where we have to adapt the way we work as much in the past, whereas you know, we're adapting to everything new, especially last year and probably continuing this year, so it just means that we also have to do that on our work day.
I guess we're used to adapting now.
Exactly.
100%.
So should be a walk in the park.
I think,
what's normal?
I think it's like a nudge in the right direction for us as marketers to be able to diversify more and not be so heavily reliant upon one specific activity. So I think the interdependence of marketing activity is going to have to get a lot stronger with like CRM lists, going through lead gen on Facebook instead of just the standard conversion ads. Diversifying the platforms as well. Like, especially just this month, I've seen Clubhouse become a massive thing. I've just joined it, so I'm excited to see what that's about.
Cool.
And then Signal is another thing that everyone was just crazed over after I think it was Elon Musk that put it on his Twitter, and then the downloads of Signal
suddenly it's massive.
Through the roof. And I think it's a case of not being scared to try new things, just to see what's out there, because many moons ago Instagram was just this new thing that no one knew about, and it's become what it is now. So it's definitely worth trying.
Definitely. Do you think as tracking gets more complex, and obviously there's loads of privacy releases around things like cookies, and it's just obviously we're going to get to a point where we're more and more restricted in terms of what we can track, which gets you to the point where really the biggest thing, and it sounds really obvious, is like overall uplift. So how is everything working together, and slightly less perhaps of a granular view. Maybe it's a force, like you say, into that slightly bigger thinking, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Like, having the data restricted from our eyes sort of gives you have to take a step back and think, okay, we can't exactly see what this one particular keyword is potentially doing, but then it's like, actually, let's look at all of them as a whole and see trends from there and sort of step back and see, and then also where is all of our marketing spend working best, instead of just like really into the detail. So I don't think that's actually a bad thing. I think having sort of data taken away, like obviously we can get quite granular and we can get quite stalkerish in terms of the way that we look into data, and you know, like Google Analytics, we can see a lot of stuff, and it's not always a bad thing to see a higher level, because I think that's where you can make the bigger decisions if you do have that overall picture. So
potentially quite annoying, but also a good shift in thinking, perhaps.
And I think it's only annoying because it's something that we've just got used to. And I think like it's not like, when you really think about it, like we're going to have to change the way we work, and it's just the fact that we just have to change. It's not, I don't think it'd be that bad, to be honest.
It just keeps us on our toes.
Exactly.
Keeps things interesting.
What's the point in just having everything the same all the time?
And things change anyway. Like it's not like within digital marketing things aren't changing rapidly anyway. It's just more continued change. So you're right, we shall adapt. What do you think? I saw someone put up a poll, I think, on Twitter, and around about kind of things like in-person events for the year, because that was one thing that I really missed last year, was being at an event, going for a beer afterwards, catching up with people, meeting new people. Do we think that's going to happen this year? What are your, because obviously no one really knows, but I thought it'd be quite interesting to see what you think.
I think it's the appetite for going out in general really coincides with it as well, because I love an event and just kind of the networking, and whether it's like a work conference or if it's just a company social, I think it's so important to have those like real life conversations face to face. And from online kind of summits that I've been on, there is that opportunity to network through Zoom or kind of any other like video platform, but I don't think it's being used that much.
It's not the same though, is it?
It's like, not the same.
You might be able to add some people on LinkedIn and then maybe send them a message, but that's as far as it goes, and it is more awkward as well. Like I don't know whether it's that sort of human contact that you need, because it's easier to be like, just have those quick conversations, and even if it's just, should we grab a beer with a couple of people, and like you just, it's so much easier than, oh hello, how are you, on LinkedIn. It just gets a bit too formal, I think, as well. Like it makes you feel a bit more formal.
It's also the actively hanging up to like stop the conversation. It makes you feel so rude that it's just like, okay, so this conversation's ran its course, it was great to talk to you, I'm gonna hang up now and talk to somebody else. I just it's so unnatural as like social beings treat another person that way.
It's not, it's really not the same, is it? And I wonder whether will it be the autumn, maybe like a few in-person events come back in? Will it be next year? I don't know, but I really want to go to some.
2022 to Mexico needs to happen.
I just can't see anything changing that much in the next few months for it to be able to have the time to set them up, because I think that also there's a lot of prep that goes into these events, and even not just work events, I'm thinking things like festivals as well. Like everyone keeps talking about those happening, they're not going to happen this year. Like I don't want to be pessimistic, but I just don't think they are.
I think
like,
you're right.
I have like 7 different festivals lined up with my ticket at the ready, but I just don't think it's going to happen until at least next year, because
I think you're right.
It's just, even though we're sort of making progress with the vaccine, etc., I just don't think that we're sort of ready enough to just go from, you know, having to stand 2 meters away from each other and not see more than one other person to being in a field with 50,000 people. Like it's such a jump. I don't think that it's going to happen in a year. But I think maybe smaller things like instead of full-blown events like Brighton SEO, maybe there'll be sort of more localized ththings. Maybe it'll be something like, I know we talked about doing things in the future. Maybe for this year it'd be cool to get some people together and do like workshops and things like that. So maybe it's that sort of we take it back into our own hands and we set these things up instead of relying on the event organizers to sort of create those really big things. Maybe it's just we localize them a bit more and have, you know, smaller amounts of people, which also helps in terms of diversifying what we do, because we obviously do like paid social and PPC, but it's something that it would be interesting to see how we could formulate and run an event. That would be such a good thing to sort of try out, and we probably would never think of doing that before, because, you know, it's a lot of effort and we could just go to the ones that are on. But if it's something smaller, then 2021 drive events, look out guys.
There's a big prediction.
But that's something, obviously, like if it gets to October and nothing's happened, it's like we might just be really looking for some kind of human interaction, so we just invite some people to a pub and have a chat, like that kind of thing. Like,
wouldn't that be nice to do that
would just
again?
be amazing.
Like just a lot more chilled as well. I think sometimes when you have all these huge events, these big speakers, and, you know, like there's a lot of pressure on that, whereas if it's just getting some people interested in marketing together for an afternoon, and
a couple of beers always helps as well, doesn't
it? And then that way you just get to make you just get to meet different people and expand on your knowledge as well. And so maybe we're just reversing and going back to like the old school days a bit.
I think we are definitely taking a step back, and everything is becoming a little bit more localized.
It's like I guess everyone's now had almost a year of surviving virtually, so there's I guess it's like, well, why people it's stepping back and going like, why would you go to that, or like, why do you want to do that, or why? It's quite interesting, isn't it?
And I think this year, I don't know what you guys think, but last year we were kind of like on the fence of knowing what was going to happen for the next few weeks, let alone the rest of the year. And now we've kind of I think we've kind of got to the fact that it's probably going to be like this for a while, and we just need to like try new things to see what's going to work in this situation, instead of just waiting for the rules to change and us to go back to normal. We just know, like we're sort of at that point where we just know it's going to be like this for a few months, and even if things do change back to normal a bit more, doesn't mean we still can't do these online things. It's just like planning for them a bit more. I
agree.
Just saying, you know, we'll see what the rules are next month and then see, and then suddenly you're 6 months down the line and you've done nothing.
It's going to be a year of contingency plans, I think, because
plan
things
A's,
are going
B's, C's and D's.
Just in every sense of business, just like contingency plans for when lockdown lifts and then we go back into lockdown again, or when a certain industry is allowed to function again, like hospitality. I think it's definitely a case of just constantly having your eye on the ball and where it's moving to.
I think that also, like that conversation we had earlier about people's digital habits and things, and how I don't think we really have to worry too much that as soon as everything opens up again, people are going to stop shopping online and using online platforms, etc. Because it's not, I don't think it's going to be that black and white. I think people are quite get used to things quite quickly, and I think everyone's got used to shopping online, so I don't see that really changing back drastically. Like there'll be those people that still love to go out shopping, but also people will still just have that habit of doing it online. So there'll be like a nice in between, I think.
I agree. And it's I guess it's probably I think you're right, like it won't change too much. It will change a bit, but back in March there was this massive panic that, you know, everything was going to fall off a cliff, and obviously some industries have had a really bad year, but then e-commerce was massive last year, absolutely massive, and that was a bit of a surprise initially, I think, at quite how much it exploded. And it makes so much sense given that everyone was stuck at home, they couldn't really go out, a lot more shops were shut at the time. But that was a real good silver lining, wasn't it? So will that continue?
I think also back then, the fact that they were able to keep up with orders, I think that was sort of a question at the beginning. It was like, are you able to have the warehouse full of workers as you would previously, etc. And I think a lot of people were able to really keep their, I suppose, what's the word, like their customer service and their journey to such good standard despite all the changes. I think that's also really like one thing that helped the e-com side boom, because if they didn't have that side of it sorted, that would have just dropped off and people would have just been annoyed if their order took 3 weeks instead of 24 hours, etc. So, but I do think that's going to continue. I think people just like things easy, and buying online is now very easy, even more so than it was before.
Yeah, and a lot of businesses up there are e-commerce game as well. So, but you know, maybe smaller businesses that weren't really selling online, or larger businesses that hadn't had a huge focus on it. So they're still there and they're still trading online, and that's a really, really good thing. But I think it will be interesting to see how that trend adapts or changes, if at all, when things start opening up fully again.
Yeah, I think one thing is that once kind of an e-commerce business has set a standard of really reliable delivery times, quick delivery times, and good customer service, because of such a massive demand for it, it's then there to stay. Because once someone knows about a next day delivery service, they will continuously use it. I don't think it's going to be a case of people want to wait 5 to 10 business days ever again, now that they know the capacity is there. And I think it would be interesting to see how digitally we can track how many more people are going to start looking for physical stores, like looking at location searches and kind of sign-ups to store openings and things like that. That would be really interesting to have a look at.
Yeah, because people will want to get back to the high street.
Just for a change of scenery as well.
Just to get out of the house.
Yeah. Regardless of whether they're spending, they like, because it could
even I might go shopping.
Because that's the thing. I think I know, as like personally, sometimes I'll look around and spend the whole day outside looking around in shops, and then I'll still go home and buy what I found online because I sort of have that time to think about things. I think that could also be the fact that also changes. So it won't necessarily take people's purchasing online away. It's just, it's going to be different to have everyone outside again. I think that's also a trend as well. Something that we see in summer, you know, people are outside in the sun, not really using their mobile phone as much. Will it be that because everyone is out and about, they use their phone less? And something that we did see sort of after that first initial lockdown, but it wasn't huge. And I don't think we should worry about it being awful as sort of like a digital place. I don't think we should worry too much.
Agreed.
Or it could be that people are using their phones more to showcase that they're out of the house.
That is also very
good places to go now that they can go beyond their gardens.
Here's the outside world.
Here's
one day soon. One day soon, I'm sure. So to round up, do you both have what's your biggest tip for 2021? Gonna put you on the spot.
I think for social, diversification is essential. Do your research into the other platforms, see if it is in line with your business and your goals. Don't don't disregard the power of lead gen and CRM lists and how important that is digitally and how important it's going to get digitally. And just keep an eye on just customer comments. Make sure that the things that you're seeing on your accounts from customers and their reviews actually aligns with what your brand wants and how you want your business to grow.
That was like a 3-in-1.
I was going to say that was like 4.
What's the one?
Yeah, so that's
bonus.
They're
They all sort
my
of tie
big.
in, though.
Yeah, I think they do tie in.
Yeah.
Just because you need to cover all bases at the moment because
Not
we don't
resting
really
on
know.
one's laurels.
Yes, that's what I was trying to think of, and I couldn't say it.
We got there.
Yeah, we got there in the end.
What's yours, Jade? Have you got 4?
So, as you were mentioning that, Ferne, I think it's very similar. I think, especially from Google Ads perspective, like a lot of people rely heavily on search, but there are so many different options available now. And I think what we've seen in the last few months, especially, is like when we do try those other platforms like Discovery and YouTube ads, that even though it might not be the first thought for your business, there's just so much to explore there. And I do think, so especially with things like video just becoming such an ultra way of just marketing everything, like things like Reels on Insta, and then obviously TikTok and etc. and things, all of these new platforms coming out. And then, so I also saw a stat that I think 80% of YouTube watching's now on like TVs because of the way that we've all moved and like we've gone from working at home now, so people are like doing stuff more on their TVs, and there's a lot of different ways that we're doing stuff. So then also I think looking at things like YouTube ads as something that everyone can try, because just people are watching more YouTube even ever more than ever before. And I think that's something that, even though it might not be your first thought, is something to try. And especially if you have video already, it's just worth trying. And if you don't, they've actually rolled out in November last year, they mentioned about how they're rolling out sound, like audio ads for YouTube, so you can have a static image and just have audio in the background, because people are listening to music a lot more on YouTube. So it's sort of trying new things, basically. Sorry, that was like a really roundabout way of saying try new things, because
but I think that that really does, like, both of you are on the same page with that, I think. So it's like not resting on your laurels, experimentation and diversification is the key.
Just don't panic.
And don't freak out.
The possibilities are there and the potential is there, so don't panic if the thing that you focus on the most starts to change. Just try something new.
Amazing.
I do think that, like, we should just go in, just try new things, because we don't have a clue what's going on at the moment, so why not just try everything and see what works?
Love it. What a good note to end on. So thanks guys for joining. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to go and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the usual places, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.